All of you, I am Ajit Singh, Java developer, Mindfire Solution, India, and I am here to discuss a very famous ORM tool that is called Hibernate. This is my LinkedIn profile, and I also have a blog. I have just written one single blog for now. You can visit it for seeking out the fundamentals of Hibernate. The agenda of this video is to learn all the things for an ORM, like what is an ORM, and we will do some introduction to Hibernate, what is the role of Hibernate in Java, how do we map our table to the classes, the persistence classes. We will also look at how to make a sample application and how do we use session to maintain all the transactions. But first of all, I would like to uh, tell you like what is persistent, like why should we persist the data in our application. Persistent is like any of the process that has been created by me, or any of the variables or any of the rows that can be used after, even if I am not using it. Like in future I had a need that I need that record from the database. So that should be, if that record is persistent, then it will be available to me very easily. Next is like what is an ORM. ORM is a programming technique that is used to achieve data persistence, that we know very well. Basically what ORM does is like it maps each of the tables to the persistence classes, and you don't have to write any of the plain SQL queries like select, update and all. You can just write down the code for the POJOs and map each of the POJOs to the database tables, and the ORM handles all of the things like how do you get the data, how do you update it, and how you can also delete the data, of course. So one of the ORM tool amongst like which is very famous is Hibernate, and it is not only an ORM tool, it also does various other things like lazy loading, and some other things are transaction management. So it has very advanced features also in itself. Next we will look where does Hibernate fits in a Java application. So when I use Hibernate in my application, from the client code, suppose I got a request to do some database transactions, I use Hibernate where I map I have my mapping says like I map each of my database columns to a persistence class, to the POJO classes, which we will see in a moment. And I get my configuration like which database I am using, what is the username, password and all the things that are required to know what is the database. So then we do a database transaction using JDBC. Hibernate writes down the plain SQL queries to do all the transaction in JDBC. Steps that are needed to integrate Hibernate is, first of all, you should get to know what are the database column which you want to be persisted. Then map the columns to their properties in the classes, and you should add the Hibernate library also and create a CFG file, which we will see. Let's look at it very quick. I am using Netbeans IDE, and if you'll go to new project and create a web application, the Netbeans automatically here you can select the server, and there is an option like Hibernate 3.255, and you can select it, and Netbeans will automatically create a Hibernate project for you. I have it already created, so we are not doing it. And Hibernate will give you this CFG file, and this is my CFG file. You can define your database here, like while making a transaction with the database, what will the various things which I need, like in normal JDBC call also you will need all these things, like what is the database name. My database name is test, the username is root, password is Mindfire, and the dialect which I am using is MySQL dialect. The dialect is based upon the database driver, the database type. And then I have the MySQL database connector, which you also have to add to the libraries. next thing which you need is like uh, the HPM files for all your database tables. So I have two database tables as book and author. We will look at them later, and this is how we map things. So first of all, we have done the mapping, and then let's go to the next step. So this thing is also we have done. We have to create a configuration to so that the one we saw at CFG file, and then you can create a session factory from where you will get the sessions, and then you can use that session factory to create session and do all the transactions. So Hibernate configurations, we have done the Hibernate configuration. Next thing is like the session. Whenever you need to make any changes to the database, you will use sessions. The session is not like you will have it every time. Session factory is created for your application, and again for the transaction you can get a session from the session factory. So here is the thing. Let's look at my database first. I have this books table. Books table is having columns like ID, title and genre. Let me delete all the records from the books table so that when we insert anything we are more clear on it. And I have an authors table, and from the authors table also let me delete everything. So in my books table I have three columns as ID, title, genre. Sorry, four columns: ID, title, genre and author. Author is my foreign key which points to the authors table, like what was the author for every book, and in this way. So that was the thing. And in the authors table I have name and age, ID which goes to the books, and in this way. So next thing is like so let's map each of our column to the Pojo classes, and from the Pojo classes we can do various transactions by using the session factory. The thing is like you maintain the Pojo classes. Pojo classes define your database tables, and each of the object will define your database rows, and the rows in the particular table. So the first thing which we have created the CFG. Our CFG is ready, whatever we need the things to do the transactions. And here is our HPM file. HPM file is like we can start with the Hibernate mapping package is equal to text package. Text package is like in the package where your Pojo classes are lying. So the first one is like class name is equal to book and table is equal to books. So the table name is books and my Pojo class name is book, and the column is ID. Column is equal to ID, and name in my Pojo classes is also ID. Type isn't. Generator class is equal to native, means that like I don't need to specify each time I make a transaction to add a record to the database table named book. I don't have to specify the ID, it will just generate it automatically. It is same as auto increment in MySQL. Next is property, the title, genre and author. Author is we are doing a many to one relationship to the author, because one author can publish many books. So right below the books table we have defined the authors table also, the mapping. So basically our mapping is also ready and our CFG is also ready. So the third thing which we needed to do was to get the session factory, and to get session from the session factory and use that session to maintain our books. So in line number 15 what we are doing is we are getting the session factory. We have our session factory ready, and now let's add an author. So from the we get the session from the session factory, like factory dot open session, and we get the session from there. So first we are doing is we are adding an author named Manoj, and whose age is 32. So whenever I add an author and whenever I do session dot save is a process to persist any of the object. So what I did is I created a new author. Author is equal to new author, like author was my Pojo class. So the state is persistence for now. Whenever I do session.persistence, session.save, the state is becoming persistent. I mean that means it becomes the record goes to the database. So what we will do now is uh, we will do we have our author, author is equal to new author, and then what we will do is we will save the author, and we get the author here at line number 23. Author is equal to new author. Then we will pass that author here to the to add a book. Like I had the database table named book, where you will need the author of the book also. So then we will pass our author record to the book. So in the add book tables we can see, like in the new book I need my title, genre and author, uh, title, genre and author, and ID is something which is like auto incremented, so that's how it can. So while going to the manage books, let me like run the record, and we will also look at where does all the things regarding show SQL lies, and the database tables are empty for now. I run the main method of my class, and you can define it anywhere like JSP, or even if it is a servlet. So here my thing here, like the program will run. Some other things which I wanted to tell is like object scopes. Objects have like three scope: transient, persistence and detached. Transient is like the starting phase when I have created a new object, like I did author is equal to new author, or book is equal to new book. When I do session.save, the state becomes persistence. Persistence is like it is associated with the session now, and it will have an identifier value. Each persistent object always have an identifier value, like the ID. That's how the Hibernate knows like it is a persistence object. Then when I close the session, or if I delete an object, then it becomes detached. The diagram is something like this. When I save it, it goes to the persistence, and when I delete it, it goes back to the transient. So here you will see like what were the we had an option here, right? In the starting we saw we had an option like show SQL queries. So it is here at line number 10. So the show SQL queries, what it does is it shows you all the queries, like insert into authors. What was the SQL queries written by the Hibernate in the end. That is how that is what is like showed to you in this. So here we can also see what was the things that were added, and what it becomes. It like we have a list books function, and here we are running an HQL query. This is an HQL query, like from book. You can also write down like select A from book A, or you can just write down from book. From book means it will get every rows which is available from the books table, and you can iterate over the book. And remember we had a column as author or author also. So here is where my relational mapping comes into the face, and we get books, and from the books we can also get the author. Like we just have to do book.get author, and in the books table I have a bean named as public author, and return type is author, so it returns me the author of the book, and we can just iterate over it and write all the things. And it is very easy and simple. Let me look in the database, like have I got my records. So that is like 1 in a million, and genre is motivation, and in the author will be the ID is 6, and in the books table the ID should be 6. That is the 6. Wow, that's great. And the thing, Hibernate has like very uh, a very important, what can I say, uh, a, a functionality named as lazy loading. And what lazy loading is like, uh, suppose I didn't had this thing here. First of all, let's take a simple real world example to explain lazy loading. Suppose there was a father, and his son was having many toys like Superman, Batman, and whatever other real heroes like, um, Captain America, Thor. And whenever he used to call his son, and then all his toys used to come with him. So that doesn't look good. Like, no father will ever want his son to be ready with his toys every time. So he wanted, like, by default, whenever he calls his son, only the son should come to him, not all the toys. If like they are going for a trip, and he should call his son to come with all the toys to pack his toys also, then it should be an option. So what Hibernate does is, whenever I write down from book, it doesn't get me the author. The moment it reaches line number 101, when I do book.get author, then it fetches the data from the database. Otherwise, it it just keeps it in the transient state. Then it takes it into the persistence state to have it ready for use. So that's all I have regarding Hibernate. There are various other things in Hibernate also, like batch processing and lazy loading. So uh, I will also make a new video of Hibernate, which will have like some new features, some advanced features you can say. And that is all I have, and thank you so much. Enjoy your life.